And now joining us to review some of the headlines of today's newspapers from around the world is Arise News analyst Vimbai Mutinhiri Ekwenyong, the distinguished Niger wife. Wishing her a very happy.
Because you added the distinguished, now, I feel like I've stepped into 2024 with the energy that I need. Thank you for that, Dr. Abati.
The required energy.
Happy
morning
New Year.
and Happy New Year,
everybody. Good morning, everybody.
Happy New Year to my babies.
To your baby, I'm still not buying, with the way Rufai loves babies, I'm not buying that he was hugging himself into the new year. I'm not buying that story. So let's see how this story develops throughout 2024, right?
We'll see.
All right.
All the bachelors in Arise News, maybe we should give them an ultimatum.
Dr. Abati,
I think we need to, one by one, starting with...
Dr. Abati, stop hate speech.
We go by time slot. So
I
work earlier in the day.
Stop hate speech. Dr. Abati, stop hate speech.
This is your year. Not forgetting those
our
behind
year.
the
The
scenes as
bachelors
well.
whose names begin with the letter
We'll go first.
Iken, our producer,
Iken,
also
producer
that
as well. So the morning show is robust with talent. That is that we are going to give away in 2024.
Really?
I agree. Yes.
Really?
I'm ready to even take you to Zimbabwe if that's what we need to do.
Oh, yeah. Harare, yeah. No. You know,
We'll talk about it offline. All right, everybody. I know it's a slow start for most people, but we're here to give you what you need, and we're going to give the people what they want this morning with all of the headlines from the front pages of today's newspapers from all around the world. Of course, we do start with this day newspaper of record, which is leading with 24 people that will likely shape 2024. Looking forward to having a very energetic conversation about that a little bit later in the newspaper review. But very quickly, we'll look at some of the other stories as well as other newspapers. Of course, we've already had an in-depth discussion about the New Year broadcast. This day reported as in New Year broadcast, Tinubu offers hope despite difficult choices in national interest. Now, just above the masthead, just below the top story, the leading story is Rivers crisis takes new twist. Edison quits as Speaker lawmaker. Those are the latest developments from Rivers State. Seems nobody rests in Rivers State. Here Edison, who of course had been upheld as Speaker by the court, has now voluntarily tendered his resignation, not just as Speaker, but also as a lawmaker. So we look forward to digesting the implications of this development in the Rivers State saga. Now let's head to the Daily Trust. Daily Trust are also leading with Tinubu to Nigerians. I am aware of your frustrations. He says everyone will feel the government's impact. Show us clear direction of your policies. Atiku tells the president, Nigeria lacks good leadership, says Peter Obi. Akpabio governors urge Nigerians to keep hope alive. APC appeals for patience. PDP asks citizens to defend democracy. So we're going to stay on this very same topic as we quickly move to the Vanguard newspaper, which has done a much more detailed insight and focus on this particular, on another angle of the story, the Vanguard newspaper, focusing on the budget 2024 that has been passed and that has also been increased by 1.2 trillion. So the Vanguard leads with NLC, NECA, LP, others fire NAS for raising 2024 budget by 1.2 trillion. Just to get a little bit into depth with that. Now, the Speaker of the House of Reps, that's Tajuddin Abbas, has stated that after we received the budget proposal, we worked extra hours, no weekends, no breaks. Even during Christmas, we had to work. This is what needed to be done for the budget to be passed on Saturday. Now, he says that we expect the budget to deliver because there's no sector that we did not cross-check. He goes on to say, I assure you that by the time the 2024 appropriation is signed into law and we start implementing it, Nigerians will see the difference. And lastly, he says this is the budget that is going to define the Tinubu's administration's commitment to the people of this country. Now, we continue still staying on this same story. Maybe we can take it from the angle of The Guardian newspaper, leading, of course, with President Tinubu's speech and more insight into the developments with the budget. The chairman of the Appropriation Committee of the Senate, that's Adiola Solomon, said the budget was increased based on current economic realities. And he made reference to the current black market exchange rates and, of course, the exchange rates at the CBN, the discrepancies there. And he says, the budget itself is pegged at 750 naira. So we know that black market at the moment ranges from 1,200 to 1,300. CBN is looking at about 950 to 1,000 naira. And the budget is pegged at 750 naira. So the argument is that this is why what was proposed by the president is not what was approved by NAS. That's why there's a huge 1.7 trillion discrepancy there. And Joe Ajero, of course, of the NLC, has come out to say there may not be any other motive behind the increase except the usual creation of channels to corner resources. So no respite, and it seems as much as the members of the NAS say they did not get to rest during Christmas, seems like Joe Ajero also didn't rest. He's keeping the government on their toes. Very quickly, we'll breeze through the other papers so that we can have time to dissect 24 people to watch in 2024. The Punch newspaper, leading with New Year, tackle economic hardship, Nigerian tells federal government. Of course, celebrations as the world welcomes 2024, which we've seen here on Arise. At the very top, above the masthead on the right-hand corner, Plateau State, the Pope seeks divine help as military combs remote communities. On the left-hand side, Port Harcourt refinery begins test run. 12 states get supplies soon. That's a fantastic development, and we do hope soon is genuinely soon and not later. Very quickly to the Nation newspaper, terrorists deposited arms ahead of attacks on Plateau communities, says Senator, as more details emerge on that attack. Of course, we also know that there was another fresh attack that took place in Plateau State, much smaller in scale, but concerning that there are still attacks taking place in Nigeria. Of course, at the bottom there, how 28.78 trillion budget can impact economy. That's according to experts. And again, that same explanation from the chairman of the Appropriation Committee of the Senate, Adiola Solomon, about why we raised the capital component. Because mind you, the extra 1.7 trillion that has been added to the budget is on capital expenditure. And last but not least, very quickly before we go, let's just take a look at the New Telegraph. Plateau, we won't allow terrorists to bring Nigeria down. That's according to President Tinubu. So more insight into his speech today. And of course, I'm aware of your sufferings, President tells citizens. And that's where we will round up for today. Bigger stories, of course, President's address to the nation. The resignation of the speaker in Rivers State, that's Ehie Edison, the budget and the increase in budget, biggest conversations right now. So maybe we can just quickly get into those and leave time for us to really dissect the 24 people that will likely shape 2024 as put forward by this day newspaper.
So I'd like to take a look at the budget. I think for me, the biggest story in the land this morning is about the budget. I am not happy the way we do things in this country. I am not happy with this government concerning this budget. We all agreed that Nigeria is in dire straits. We don't have the money even to fund this budget. This was the same government that now that they are giving this frivolous excuse of inflation and forex rates, but we told them that saying 750 or 700 to the dollar as a budget benchmark is not tenable. They said, no, it's a lie. They said things are going to change. A minister in this country went further to say that these are the fair values, that if we do everything right, that we should be able to get up to 750. But now, they've gone to do a last-minute variation. And it was very technical. There was a rush to pass that budget. Yes, I know it was to meet the cycle, but a last-minute variation of a colossal amount. 1.2 trillion is no joke. If you put it at the benchmark of 1, that's about $1.2 billion. You've just put a variation in there at a time that the president also made a request for 7.3 trillion securitization of ways and means as against the CBN laws. In the end, there's no accountability for this money. So why are we spending it in the first place? They must go and cover that money. They must go and cover that money. We complained that a 27 trillion budget was too much in the first place. It's time for us to cut our coat according to our clothes. We can't keep incurring debts. Because as all of this was passed, there was also another request for another pending over $7 billion loan and 100 million euros. We're not saying it's not good to collect debt, but when we know that it's for wasteful spending, then what's the future? And then the next thing, cleverly, on Saturday, they passed it. They added that money to it. I think Nigerians should call and write their lawmakers from their constituency and ask and tell them they are not happy with them. I can't keep frittering cash away. On top of this was the president that collected supplementary budget before this time. How is President Tinubu spending money? How is President Tinubu spending money? I am not happy, and you see, Labour has echoed my concerns. I am not happy with the government about this excess 1.2 trillion. It's going to cause problem because the money is not free. And we know how hitherto they spend money. That was how they collected supplementary budget. We started hearing presidential yacht and all sorts of things. And cars for the first lady. Because this debt is us Nigerians that will pay it. After they will say, we are joint heirs of the Commonwealth. If we are joint heirs of the Commonwealth, our voice must matter. This 1.2 trillion is a big problem. And it's going to create problem in 2024 already. Problem is already starting from day 1, 2024. Because with that 1.2 trillion, is it at the end of the day you say we should securitize that money again? Where are we going to get it to pay back?
Well, I'm sure we'll discuss the details with Tilewa Adebaju, who's going to be joining us very shortly. But I just wanted to make a quick comment on the update from River State with Honorable Edison Ehie, the factional leader or factional speaker of the House, who's tendered what he's described as a voluntary resignation letter. He wrote the letter, excuse me, on the over the weekend to INEC and asked that he was stepping down as not just leader but also representative of the Awoda East constituency of River State. The implications of this clearly shows that the Rivers matter hasn't been put to rest. Following the meeting with the president, there were some 8-point agenda as well that was released, and it seems like this is part of the deal because as part of that agenda, the other factional speaker, Amewule, was said to have been reinstated, and then the other members reabsorbed into the House. The questions that come up are the questions that came up at the time as to the legality of the intervention of the president, and then what happens to the court ruling with regards to the matter of Honorable Edison Ehie. So it seems as if there's, there are constitutional breaches in the decisions that are being made, and then what does this portend for democracy in the state and Nigeria as a whole, because it sets a precedence in terms of how things are, or matters that are constitutionally provided for and that have legal implications responded to or handled in the country. So I believe that I'm sure that there will be legal minds who would debate this matter, but there are certainly eyebrows to be raised with regards to the to what is coming up. They're saying he might get an appointment in the course of the event, but it just shows that the people of Ahoda, are they asking their representative questions? He's there on the mandate of the people. It's not just about politics, but also representing the interests of the people. So I'm looking forward to what will unfold in Rivers, because I do believe that it will be a template for other matters that will arise in other parts of the country.
Okay, I assume that having started with the front page of this day, you will expect some commentary on the 24 persons that the editors of this day newspaper say are likely to shape 2024. Understandably, they seem to have focused mostly on government officials. And I guess those government officials, because of Nigerians' expectations, the president, definitely, the vice president, Kashim Shettima, definitely. What they do or do not do would definitely, impact on how Nigeria shapes out in 2024. And then, of course, the leadership of the National Assembly. The Senate President Godswill Akpabio and Tajuddin Abbas in the House of Reps as Speaker. What both of them do will matter a lot. They had promised that they're going to take a second look at the electoral framework and also at the Constitution. Nigerians have very high expectations in that regard, as well as how well both houses discharge their responsibility in terms of oversight. And then you have Cardoso, the CBN governor, and Wale Edun, who is, coordinating minister of the economy. Of course, the economy is the big issue in 2024. This is their budget that they have come up with. Will the budget work? Is the budget even implementable? The revenue projections that they have promised, will it happen? Will there be further devaluation of the naira? Are we going to further have a regime of scarcity and uncertainty? These are issues. So I understand when you say they would shape the economy. Well, on that list again, I see Adelabu, who is in charge of power. Only this morning, the president was talking about electricity supply, which will be a priority for him. Of course, the power minister has been consulting with various people. So if Nigerians have more electricity in 2024, that will make sense. And then you have the Minister of the Interior, who has been commended for innovations that he has been working on. You have Festus Keyamo in aviation, would airlines further leave Nigeria because they cannot have foreign exchange repatriation? Will our airlines, will our airports be better? What kind of policies are we going to have beyond the promises at the various airports? So I see the sense in that. Then, of course, Lagos State Governor is also on that list. The only governor whose state attracted in Q3 2023, over 68 or about 64% capital importation, when 27 other states in Nigeria could not even attract 0.5% capital importation, showing the strategic importance of Lagos State. Well, on the other side, you have Wike and Simi Fubara, what they do in Rivers State, how they play their politics in Rivers State. I think the people of Rivers State should worry more about that, as long as they don't use their own crisis to disturb the rest of us in Nigeria. Another important category there, business leaders. The same business leaders that this day had identified previously as persons of the year. Aliko Dangote, the Dangote refinery, that we all expect to make a difference. Femi Otedola, chairman of Girigu PLC, director of FBN Holdings, and a highly reputable activist investor and philanthropist. Herbert Wigwe, CEO Access Bank, who has done the beautiful thing of giving back to society in his Isiokpo local government area in Rivers State by setting up Wigwe University, which is likely to become one of the major investments in the education sector. And then you have Benedict Ebenezer a year ago, the head of Zenith Bank, which is an outlier, tier 1 bank that has been doing very well. Well, however, if Rotus were to be on the program today, I recall his comment. He said, Tony Elumelu should also have been on that list. That was his argument when these persons were named as persons of the year. And Tony Elumelu's Hairs Holdings have seen capital gains running into trillions, of naira. So if Rotus were here, he would have made the same justification that list is not complete because Hairs Holdings, whether in banking or hospitality or, oil and gas, is making a lot of impact. And then another interesting category that these day editors came up with, entertainment. And you cannot even argue with their choice there. Davido, continues to play big. Burna Boy, with Grammy and all of that, remains very big on the world stage. Ashake is a major discovery. Money on my mind. Money. Lonely at the top.
Lonely.
That's a remix right there.
Before we get
And then
carried away.
You have
Okay.
Kiss Daniel.
Yeah.
You know, I would have loved to see on that list also iStar, whom we interviewed the other day. She has great potential. Thames also appears to be doing very well. And there's also this lady, Yemi Alade, who is also government. Many of them there. But their example is well proven, how they contribute to the value of the creative economy and how the creative economy can further help to push the Nigerian brand, both internationally and also in terms of, foreign policy projections. What remains is for the government to realize the importance of the creative economy and to invest more in that direction. So this is the review you asked for, in my view.
Fantastically done, especially with a little bit of music, because we're still in our festive mode. So we enjoyed your rendition of Lonely at the Top. And I'll just come back to Ayo and Rufai, because of course a major sector that has been highlighted here, and of course we know that it's not something that we can paste people's faces on the front page. Security sector. Yeah. These people are undoubtedly going to shape 2024 in a major way. It's written a combined team of the defense ministers, Badaru Abubakar, the National Security Advisor, Malam Nuhu Ribadu, the Chief of Defense Staff, General Christopher Musa, the Chief of Army Staff, Lieutenant General Tauri Lagbaja, the Chief of Naval Staff, Vice Admiral Ikechukwu Ogala, the Chief of the Air Staff, that's Air Marshal Hassan Abubakar, and the Inspector General of Police, that's Kayode Ebetokun. They're up to the task. Yeah. We put our full backing behind them, but what a year they have ahead of them. Rufai, we discuss this every day.
Yeah. The success and the growth we want in our economy will be incumbent on the hard work of our security chiefs. And anyway, some will also argue that security is holistic. It also takes the people, to be able to furnish them with intelligence. But I think the first layer of what they should build in the new year should be trust. I think because of what has happened, there's trust lacking among the security architecture and the people. There have been many trust building exercises. I think they should continue on that, to constantly build trust. When they build trust, then they can build togetherness. And also double up on the intelligence system. So I'm very sad this morning that there was another attack yesterday around Baucus, I think around the Shire area of Plateau. And a couple of days ago, there were warnings. These miscreants are so bold that they write letters in advance that we're coming to attack, and they still get to do it. And the people are left in a very serious quandary. Because it is the effort of the security agency that will bring about food stability and bring about reduction in food inflation. Because you see, a lot of Nigerians in those farming areas are not planting. And watch it. There's going to be an increase in the price of potato. Because you see, most of those areas inundated with attacks in the plateau are the biggest potato belt in this country, Irish potato belt. So you're going to have an increase in price of that. And that's also going to wrap up food inflation that's already over 30%. And I think one of the key things we should watch out for as this year starts, I think a couple of days from now, we're going to have the first inflation numbers that's going to tell us the inflation rate as of December last year. And like KPMG predicted, we might be well over 30%. And when you look at that, the knock-on effect on the interest rate, because as inflation rises, interest rate rises, then it shows that the growth outlook might be not great, it might be shambolic. I'm not expecting anything magical in 2024, but I expect surprises. And it's incumbent on this government and leadership to surprise Nigerians.
Absolutely. Just very quickly, two people in terms of ministries, especially in light of the 8-point agenda of the president, which he reiterated during his New Year Day speech this morning. The Ministry of Agriculture and Food Security, Honorable Abubakar Kyari is the minister there, and I believe that there's a lot of work, especially as we have food inflation at over 30% in Nigeria. And also, of course, the Minister of Police Affairs, because whenever we talk about security, we keep focusing on the military, but we forget that internal security, no, we don't forget, but I have to emphasize the fact that internal security is the purview of the police. And so we need to hear a bit more from Mr. Gaidam, whom has been a bit quiet in terms of ministry-wise, and also the IG of police. So these are some of the people I feel must be in the spotlight to drive the president's 8-point agenda this year, 2024.
Finally, on security, Nigerians do not expect that this year anybody, no matter how highly placed, will come and tell them that it's the devil that is responsible for any attack in any part of Nigeria. We do not expect anybody to give us excuses that they were overwhelmed and that it could have been worse. We do not expect anybody to come and tell us that the terrain was difficult, as General Abubakar of Operation Safe Haven was pointing out in Plateau. And we hope that the kind of killings in Plateau will not occur again in any part of Nigeria. That's when the president will have been able to keep his promise that he's prioritizing security. That's why I think the Disney Board of Editors included the security sector as a major area that will shape 2024. Thank you very much, Niger wife.
Thank you. And very quickly before we go, of course, just the women on the list, Hadiza Bala Usman, Uzoka Anite, Better Edu, special mention to them, of course.
Anite, who does not know the difference between A and B.
Doctor, it's just 7 months. After 1 year, we'll be able to judge her like Professor Oleshiri has said.
Some of these people,
we don't know data.
There's bimbo appointments.